Greetings and salutations. Now, we all know our dear friend Deckard Cain from Diablo 1, Diablo 2, Diablo 3. Well, he died in Diablo 3, but anyway, we all know our dear friend Deckard Cain. He identifies stuff for us for free. Then I got to thinking, how much money does he really save us? So, I'm going to set aside. I've made a character. This is in single player, and it is players 8, so that I can level faster, get through the things faster, so on and so forth. I decided to go with a barbarian because I kind of want to go with, like, more of a bulky barbarian. Scrolls of Identify are 80 gold apiece. So I'm going to write down... I'm going to keep tally of how many I use. Let's see if I can find... I'm not going to use my phone. I'll keep a tally of how many I use. Now, I'm not going to identify every piece of gear. It's just going to be stuff that I think I'm either A, going to use, or B, it's going to sell. But I'm going to see exactly how much money Deckard Cain saves us. And by that, I mean I'm just not going to save him in any difficulty. Because I want to see what he's actually worth. And the only way to truly find that is to never save the guy. You never save Deckard, he can't even possibly save you any money that way, so we're going to see exactly how much he costs. Now, obviously, the original tome isn't going to matter because I'm not going to count the actual money going into the tome, just how many scrolls I use. And I'm already going to be at 1 scroll, because there's a charm. Alright. So he's already cost us 80 gold. I know, people would say, well, that's unfair, he wasn't even around. Doesn't matter. Matters not. Alright, so the nigh unkillable barbarian is going to use concentrate. And it's going to use iron skin and stuff like that. So, I need to put 1 into Warcry because I need shout for the damage. For the defense. As for the stat allocation, I'll worry about that when I get there. But I got to thinking about it the other day. Because we had some people over, we were grilling. I grilled outside in the rain. And as I was grilling outside in the rain, we had a mild bit of flooding. It didn't actually come up to where I was grilling, but I grilled outside in the rain anyway, because, you know, America. You know, it's not going to stop me. Like, you sit there, and I started talking to people, like, started talking to a lot of Japanese people on Twitter, because they've opened up the whole, like, language boundaries of talking to other people, and Japan found out that Americans are kind of kooky when it comes to actually doing things like, presenting large amounts of food at a grilling or a barbecue. And I can't really call it barbecue. Well, that's another 80 gold, so that would be 2. I can't really call it barbecuing because it was grilling. It was grilling, because there's a distinct difference. Barbecuing is slow and low over many hours. Grilling is, you just throw it on open coals. And for the people out there that use propane, incorrect. I know I've just offended, like, probably dozens of people, but still, charcoal gives you that flavor that you want out of your meat, right? Hank Hill was wrong, and I'll say that all this time. He's always been wrong. Now, there's a couple things I also want to talk about, aside from this. Not even really a challenge, it's more of a what if, because I was really curious to wonder how much he truly saves the average player. And it's going to be a really interesting playthrough, I think. He's not really integral to quests, if you really think about it. Yes, you need to talk to him about, I believe, the jade figurine, the golden bird. You don't really need to talk to him about the pieces in Kurost. You don't really need to talk to him about anything in Act 2, except maybe take the scroll to him. The Herodric Scroll, and that's about it. Oh, well, there's the Scroll of Identify I found. But it still costs 80 gold, so I'll still count it. Of course, this is where I'm going to be met with, but you didn't buy it. Nope, nope. It still costs 80 gold. So right now, I'm up to 160. Well, that's going to be more. I've already spent 80. That's 160. And wait, do I get... I get damage off of levels of Bash. I'm going to wait on the Bash, though. I think I want to do just the Battle Orders and Berserk for the damage on Concentrate. That's going to be another 80. So I'm already at 160. I've already used 2. Now I know that a lot of people are going to be like, how much does it really matter how much gold he saves you? Because gold is everywhere. Like, it's plentiful. You find something with, you know, a decent amount of skills on it, and you're swimming in gold. That's not the point. The point is what's he really worth on the average playthrough? If we could put an actual, like, price tag on Deckard Cain's head for saving him. Now, personally, he's my spirit animal. I like Deckard Cain. He was always, you know, is always that, stay a while and listen. Greetings, traveler. I see that you have traveled a very long way. And stuff like that. Then eventually, like, he goes down the whole thing of, like, I've not set foot in glorious Kurost in quite some time. Deckard Cain was, like, he's my spirit animal, okay? He just is. A delightful old codger poring over scrolls, being like, the end of the world is on, is nigh. He's like almost one of those doomsayers that you see in any, like, quintessential Armageddon movie. And then you realize he's right. Much like the doomsayers in the quintessential Armageddon movie. Now, there is a couple things that I wanted to talk about. One is there's only... What is it? Today is the 3rd. I was going to do a free game Friday, but those have not been getting a whole lot of popularity. And I thought, alright, I'll just put it on the back burner for this week. Although, if you want to know, the free game is Clone Drone in the Danger Zone on Epic Games. Seems pretty cool. Reminds you a lot of Jedi Academy, if you ever played that. On the actual servers. Like, if you went on the PvP servers in Jedi Academy, Star Wars Jedi Academy. Reminds me of that quite a bit. Nevertheless, that's for free on this week's Epic Game Store, and then there's another one that's really weird. But anyway, check them out. But considering the free game Friday hasn't been getting a lot of traction on the channel, I thought, you know what? I'm going to see what Deckard Cain's worth. Now, of course, it does change. It is adjustable. And people would say, well, how's it adjustable? Well, think about it, right? You're playing through... I'm playing through as a barbarian. Are they going to use less equipment? More equipment? How often am I going to change my equipment? These difficult questions need to be answered. That would have been a great leaf staff. I still have, what, 3 things to identify? And I've already spent 160. So there's another 160, that's 320. That's actually a good gem, or a good jewel. That was another 80, that's 400. So I haven't even gotten to where I need to be yet, and Deckard Cain's already cost me 400 bucks. Well, 400 gold. I gotta use it in the fantasy currency. I'm not gonna send over any of the shared stash stuff. I'm not gonna do that, because it just would be disingenuous, like all my runs. And of course all the gems and everything I'm just gonna jam in there. But we're up to 400. He's already kind of expensive. Oh, there's an extra scroll. That'll help me out when I need him again. And there's more money. Now, jewels I'm always going to identify because jewels actually help out because you can actually craft things with jewels. I don't know how to do it yet because I haven't really paid that much attention to the Karaja cube recipes. All I do know is that there are cube recipes that allow you to take a jewel and some other things and allow you to make an item. That, and if they're negative requirements and extra enhanced damage or whatever, they're really good jewels. There are some that you can even put like extra poison damage inside, in a weapon with an early jewel, and it really helps out. I need more coffee. It's thoughts like that kind of help. But anyway, it's the 3rd of April, and Pokemon Champions is coming out. Ooh, that's gonna be a lot of money. I'm gonna get on it and start identifying those. So this is another 80, so that's 480. And this is 560. Now it's 640. Actually, real quick, I'm gonna pull up a calculator so I can keep track of it. So we're up to 640. We used 8 scrolls, 640 total. So now, when we're there, when I need to come over here and tally up some more, I'll just keep the running tally there. I'll try to keep the running tally here, but I'll definitely keep the running tally there. The Pokemon Champions is coming out in less than a week. I'm excited for it because I've already got ideas kind of brewing in the background back here that are going to allow me to build a really good team. And when that really good team, when I get that absolutely stellar team, I'm going to make, obviously, a push up through the ranks, potentially make it to an invitational. That's the end game. That's the goal. We'll see how it plays out. I'm still going to work toward doing legendary, getting legend in Standard Hearthstone. And now that the patch came out for Hearthstone, which was the patch that nerfed Imbue Druid, it makes it easier to play. So now that Death Knight, that triple Blood Rune Death Knight might actually be so good that it might start taking things over. I need Shout. And that's it. I just need Shout. Oh, wait, experience. I'd be a fool not to grab that. Oh, what else did I want to talk about? I have been giving out philosophical tidbits of information to my friend. My friend actually had some flooding in his basement, and I was helping him out the other day. I wasn't doing much because I didn't know exactly what he wanted torn up and torn out, so I was just kind of standing there, and it's like, he was handing me the torn out material, and then I was just stacking it up against the wall so that the nails didn't stick out, and it wasn't like, hey, I'm gonna rip up the entire carpet, and no. It was more along the lines of, look, I'm gonna be, he has a floor plan about what's gonna get torn out of his basement. I'm just gonna help him out. So I was doing that, and I told him, I was telling him about quantum entanglement of specifically of self. How past you, we've already been over this, how past you did something or experienced something that makes present you have to experience something or wants to experience something so that future you can be where it needs to be, right? And we were sitting there, and I said, now, here's the interesting part. I said, you do realize that everything happens for a reason. And he just kind of looked at me and he goes, yeah, great. He's like, this happened for a reason. I'm so thrilled. I said, you don't get it. I said, have you ever thought, hey, I really need to clean out that spot in my basement. I really need to do this in the basement or that in the basement. And he goes, well, yeah. He's like, I kind of was kicking around the idea of cleaning all that place out, taking the walls down and going to like an open concept. He's like, and I had plans to do it. I just didn't have the time. I said, now you have to do it. And he's like, you're right. I said, everything happens for a reason. What if you needed to do it because because it's going to be required? And he just kind of looked at me and I said, what if the space in your house is going to be required for something? Like, what if there's an event coming that you are not aware of and your house needs that space open? I said, and because you weren't doing it, it gave you a gentle nudge to do it. And he just kind of looked at me and he was just like, well, that's just... He's like, well, thanks a lot, And he was upset about it. And I said, look. I was like, you can be upset about it. That's perfectly fine. I said, however, really think about it. Ow. Like, really think about it. Would you have done it if it wasn't for the flooding? And he just kind of sat there and he was like, no, I probably would still be waiting. And that's when I just kind of was like, everything happens for a reason. And so it was this, he really had like this moment of, he's right, but I don't want to hear that, I don't want to tell him that he's right. And it's like, you may not want to hear it, but it is the truth. Alright, strength, dexterity. You know what? I'm buying that, and I'm going to put in the points required for it to lift it. 27 dexterity. And 35 strength. I missed one. There we go.
Good evening.
And it's in that moment where it's really strange when people think about it, right? Sometimes the things you put out there into the universe, like he was saying that he wanted to, clean that portion of his house and then he just never got to it. It's like the universe listened and the universe responded. And of course people would say, well, but that didn't help him. But did it? If you think about it, it's now actually got him inspired to cleaning. So sometimes, I don't even know if I'm going to want to wear that. I have a 2-socketed, I could put Tal F in there eventually. Yeah, my Merc's going to need it. Let's add another 80. 720. But it's it's really interesting how life will do that to you. You know? Like, there are people that were always on the go, and they needed to slow down, and they didn't. So something occurred, an injury happened, or something along those lines, and then they slowed down, and then they're like, okay. And now it's like, okay, well now you're injured. Now you have to slow down. But people never look at it like that. People always seem to look at everything from a point of anger first. And always try to take a look at it like, I can't believe this is happening to me. And it's like, don't look at it like that. Start looking at it like, what am I supposed to be learning from this? I heard a ring. And now we're at 800. Oh, we'll get there, I guess. It's like, what lesson am I to learn from this? And then really think about what it is you could learn from it. At the very least, tuck it in the back of your mind and leave it there for later, because then, when the time eventually comes, you'll be like, oh, that's why that happened. And it will dawn on you as to the reason these things occurred, the reason these events happened, and why they happened the way they happened. I was much the same way. Great. We're gonna be up to 8. We're gonna be up to. We're already at 800. What am I thinking? Now we're gonna at 880 because I'm gonna ID that charm. I thought the same thing ages ago. When things weren't going right, I'm like, why isn't that, happening? Why does it have to happen this way? Do I still get a little upset? Yeah, I get a little upset. Everybody does. People want things to work out for them, so of course they're going to be upset. Oh, great. Another charm. That's another 880. That's 960. Right, there's 2 more. And no, I'm not sitting there thinking, oh, but if I sell that, I make money back. That's not how that works. It's just how many scrolls of Identify am I going to consume effectively. Nobody likes having things happen to them, right? But if everything happens for a reason, it kind of changes your perspective on things. Now, not everybody can process that from a standpoint, because a lot of people, again, they're emotionally charged. I didn't even pour myself coffee. They're emotionally charged, and things are just reactionary, which is perfectly understandable standpoint. A lot of people do that. I mean, you have an entire gender that runs off of emotion and emotional reactions. And men tend to run off of logic. Women tend to run off of emotions and emotional reactions. Given that, men will look at something and go, okay, well, why did that happen? And we'll ask. The really philosophical minded people will ask, what greater purpose does it push me toward? Because it always does. Now, not everything, I can't say it always does. If something turns out to be fatal, then it's obviously not pushing you toward a goal. It's not pushing you toward something. So there is that caveat. But so long as it's not fatal, chances are it's trying to push you into a place you need to be. Now, it's not always positive. Sometimes the nudge is negative, and it pushes you back, and you feel like, I keep falling back, like, oh, I had a house, but now I have to rent. I had a car, but that got repossessed, or something. And then when you feel like you're not in the right place, eventually you're like, oh, I had to up and move back to so-and-so, or place here, place there. Then all of a sudden your life switches around. And you're like, why couldn't that happen for me somewhere else? Why couldn't that happen for me back there? You weren't supposed to be there. You're supposed to be here. Now, the universe knew that. Whatever is running the cosmic wheels knew that. If you want to ascribe it a religious connotation, you're more than welcome to. You could say it's divine planning, you could say it's the creator, you could say whatever. I happen to think that there is some sort of divine planning, but that it's not all-encompassing. The divine planning gives the ability for free will. Okay? So with that, yes, you have free will to make decisions, but if you need to be somewhere, you will end up there. It's just how it is. There's another 80. So I did not ID the boots or the scepter, so we're going to add those. We're going to add this 270, 80, sorry, 240. 80, 160, 240. We're going to add another 240 to my running total, and I'm up to 1120. Yowza. Oh, forgot to identify small charm. 1200. And yes, I am going to put that on my mercenary when I get her.
Good day.
Or I could just hire a mercenary right now. I'll probably hire a mercenary right now. That way I don't have to worry about it.
Good day.
Give me one of these. Cold arrow? Yeah. We'll go with Ellie. Reason I went with Ellie,
Put that to good use.
she reminds me of
Yes?
Elsie from The World God Only Knows. Great anime if you've never seen it, by the way. But being able to disconnect from an event, from something that's happening either to you or around you, what have you, it allows you to be able to take a step back and look at it from, suborbital view. It allows you to basically say, okay, what am I going to gain from this? Where is it going to lead? And when you get there, you look back and you realize that is what the tribulations were for. That is why I was put through the ringer. And people have that idea of, but why do you always have to be put through a ringer? Why does it always have to be a tribulation and put you back before it propels you forward? If everything was handed to you, what would you learn? And I'll even go one further. Another thing on Japanese Twitter today. Somebody on Japanese Twitter simply put up the words, "I'm lonely." That's what they wrote. Now, obviously, nobody wants to be alone. Nobody wants to be lonely. And I put up there, I too spend much of my time alone. But in that loneliness, I find solace in the silence. And within that, you can find serenity. For only a still pond can reflect. And eventually, you'll find somebody that resonates with that stillness. I posed it in such a way so that they could reflect on themselves and say, you know what? Perhaps it's not all about finding a connection. Perhaps it's about connecting to self. And when you connect to self, those that can recognize that are those that have done the same. And now your connection with that new person, because they have connected to self and they are listening to self, now they'll know what their true self wants. Many people in society today walk around blind, not physically blind, but emotionally blind to things around them, because they don't listen to self. They don't take the time to sit down and ask themselves, you know, what is it I'm truly after? What is it life is pushing me towards? They don't contemplate things enough. And a lot of people say they don't have the time. True. True. Some people don't have the time. But some people choose not to find the time. Some people have the time, but would rather dedicate it to different things. I know that I'm going to hear some people say, well, that's very hypocritical, Quiz. You're playing Diablo. But am I not posing questions that allow you to reflect on self? What if I have already found self? I found myself ages ago. It's when I conquered my depression. It was a bit of a dark time, but I still conquered it. Right? That's when I found me, truly me. And this is the me that everybody sees nowadays. It's the me that everybody gets to interact with. And in most cases, and I say in most cases, it's the me that on any given day everybody can talk to pleasantly. I say that in most cases because there are days when I wake up and I am just an absolute grump because I do not feel like talking to anybody. Wow, fisticuffs working good. Oh, there's another 80. Well, 80. But when you come in contact with yourself, yourself will be able to sit there and tell you what is the real you. And the real me is the contemplative, thinking, inspirational individual.
Join my army of the dead.
I wasn't always this way. I wasn't. There was a time where I was I would say, not really angry youth, but just angsty. Like, there was a lot of people I just didn't want to associate with, or deal with, or talk to. And then all of a sudden that changed. running around in circles. I will say this from the perspective that I have found, and that is, yourself only wants what's best for you. What actually serves in your best interest. It doesn't try to, I don't really want either of those. Not even the scimitar. Yourself doesn't want what's best for you because, well, it's you. It wants what's best for you because, well, yeah, it is you, but it still wants to make sure that you get what serves you and not pretty much giving it all away, effectively, right? So it's weird. Because you can tell the people that have really sat down and had that introspective moment, they, like I said, they still get mad about things, right? Like, they'll get mad about things in the world, like, you know, if their car gets vandalized or something. Or their radio gets stolen. Something along those lines. They'll be upset about it, right? So, that's not to say they're gonna be, you know, all peachy keen and happy, like, ah, yes, life happened, haha. And yes, that's gonna be another 80 for the cap. 1360. There you go, Ellie.
Put that to good use.
That's poo. That's kind of poo. That's poo. We'll deposit a bunch of stuff. Get it out of the way. I can hardly defeat... Whatever. I can hardly believe you defeated Bloodraven. Well, that's great. It's clear that we're facing an evil, and I'm not going to save him. So, too bad. Let's see if I can find another sword or a better shield. Better shield, I think, would be a great thing to get. Those that have really
What you need?
had a sit-down chat with themselves, deep in their own mind, will understand the perspective I'm talking about, where you look at life differently. Yeah, you still get upset over things. Yeah, it can still get under your skin. But you start really asking the question of, okay, where is it taking me? Not why did it happen to me, but where is it taking me? Where does this adventure end? Right? Instead of looking at it like, I can't believe this happened to me, it's more like, okay, this happened. What's next? Where does it go? Where does it lead? Even with things such as grief. I mean, obviously everybody goes through the Kubler-Ross 5 stages of grief. But people all grieve differently, right? Oh great, another 80. 1440. Jeez. Ooh, that's a good one. Replenish life. One of the ways I grieve is through comedy, through laughter. Not in like a negative, you know, sadistic sense, like ha ha ha, but more along the lines of, if you're grieving about something, it's better to grieve about them in a joyous light. Remember them as how they were at their best point. That kind of thing. When people are introspective and they look within, they can really see everything for what it is. They can see their emotions for why they're there. There comes an understanding of how the mind works, how the mind's processing things. And then it starts philosophically asking and answering questions. So that's the key difference there, right? The philosophical mind will always look at it not so much in a jovial sort of way, but it won't be as serious. It'll take a look at it and wonder, you know, what's the next thing? What lesson is there? And it'll try to read between the lines. Oh, that's more money right there. Another 160. Nope, another 80. That's gonna put us to 1680. Yeah, he's an expensive codger then, isn't he? That's a nice one. 1 strength, 5 to mana, 7 stamina. Attacker takes damage 1. I like it. Lightning and increased stack size, huh? Great. Oop, chip diamond. I'll take those. 2 more. Oh, that dagger's ethereal, but I'm still gonna ID it. Another 160. 1840. It's almost 2,000 gold already. Deckard Cain, you're costing me a fortune. Obviously, I'm going to be told something like, but Quiz, you're missing out on Worth's Leg, you're missing out on all the loot that's in Tristram, and there's another 80 gold. And you're right, I am, I would be. And that's fine. And the reason it's fine is because he's staying right where he is. That's why it's fine. Ah, level 10. Okay. That was another... I already counted those two. That's 1840. That's another 80. So that brings the grand total so far to 1920. And another one, we will have one more item. We will have a full 2 grand. Now, mind you, that's just 2 grand, and I'm not even done with, like, the burial grounds. I still have to go do the mausoleum. That was just a crypt. So I'm going to identify these real quick. Fire damage. Crap. And, well, that one might not be bad. Nope, I'm not identifying that cap. Not going to do it. It's not worth it. I've already got a good one. Ellie's got a good one. This is a 2-socketed cap. Technically, I could put a rune word in it if I had the runes. Put in Neftir and make Nadir. Mm-hmm. So it's a good cap. You ain't gonna get one. I just tried to find... I can't even say it's the silver lining. Well, there's another one. I try to find the silver lining in everything. Because there's got to be a silver lining in almost everything. Of course, I mean, I'm sure people would disagree, and they're more than welcome to. They're more than welcome to disagree with me, 100%. You're at the $2,000 grand total. Never mind, 2080. That's like what, two whole tomes that are empty? Because 20 tomes would be... Wait. Or 20 identifies would be... Hold on. Great. Scepter.
I can't carry anymore.
So I need to add another 80 because I'm gonna be picking up that scepter. We're at 2160. I'm gonna open up a town portal. Grab a town portal. I thought about putting the empty books, the empty tomes of empty tomes of Identify in my stash to show how many I go through. I've thought about that, and I probably will. We'll get rid of that. Cool. So let's see, 20 times 80. So if you do 20 times 8, that's 160. So it's 1600. I'd have one empty tome right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to empty that tome by identifying the scepter with it, and I'll come back up and take care of it that way. Oh, and one more level, I get increased stamina. Nice. I'm saving, like I said, I'm going to save all the jewels because there's a recipe that allows you to make stuff using jewels. Scepter is what I want. But not much of anything else. And there's the one spent tome. There it is. I've already spent one whole tome, and I've got, let's see, almost a half a tome in.
Yes.
So, it's going to be signified by the number of empty tomes. So right now I'm at 2,160 gold spent. And that included the scepter.
What can I do for you?
And we're not even out of the mausoleum. I just finished up the mausoleum, I should say. we just finished up the burial grounds. From the beginning of the game to the burial grounds, and I've already spent 2,000 gold. Deckard Cain's going to be pretty costly, I think. But anyway, I hope everybody enjoyed this video. I hope everybody enjoyed some of the philosophical stuff that I talked about. Don't ever think that each person doesn't have a purpose, because they do. Each person's purpose exists. Some people's purpose might not be invented yet. So your purpose might be up and coming. Just remember, Picasso peaked in his 50s. So, just saying. Just leaving that there. Nevertheless, I hope everybody has a fantastic evening, a wonderful tomorrow, and as always, have a good one.